All right, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about an image that was recently tweeted by the Orange County Register, and then a follow-up article that was done by Mouse Info, and they had an image of their own to share about this new piece of, well, I don't want to call it concept art. It's a piece of art that was submitted to. It looks like something you submit to the city by Disney regarding the new parking structure that is being built on Manchester Avenue behind Harbor Boulevard. So I think what I'm just going to do is just sort of identify all the pieces here and then try to talk about what the ramifications are of this plan and things that we can speculate about in terms of what it means, for other parts of the park. So starting off, these areas on the left that are like the opaque white, those are areas that are going to be untouched by this expansion, by this project. So we'll start at the bottom. This SCE right-of-way section, that looks like it's running parallel to Disney Way, and it's that piece of road leading up to the Pumbaa parking lot, which is right now it's just dirt. And it looks like they're just going to kind of fill that in. There's a walking path, and then you can see that's the entrance to the parking structure, similar to how the Mickey and Friends structure is set up, it looks like. So it's going to be, actually, let's take a look at this other piece of this concept art that Mouse Info shared. We're going to get a ground level view. You can see how it's kind of the same size and shape and build as the Mickey and Friends structure. You can see people walking in. Now that's important to know. We're going to get to that later, but there are guests walking into the structure, not out of the structure. So pay attention to that. And then you can see the cars pulling in here. So that's a pretty neat little thing they're doing there. Now let's get back to the draftsman's art. So the structure, again, is going to look a lot like what we see at Mickey and Friends. Something we should note is that there's a lot in the way of the parking structure and Disneyland. There is the hotels, and then Harbor Boulevard, and then the Esplanade. So you're not going to, well, I guess you can walk in, but you can't do it. It doesn't look like you can do it from Harbor Boulevard. It looks like you have to go through this thin little walkway that is appearing between the parking structure and the hotels. And then you'll also notice that there is an area that is not part. It's going to be a third party, like a civic building, I guess, that's owned by the government between the parking structure and then the transit facility, the transportation facility that's in the other half of this new development, and that's where buses and shuttles are going to drop off guests, probably from the hotels. Hotel shuttles and buses are going to drop off here. You can see these turnarounds are just like that, and those are little buses lined up there. All guests, my guess is, all guests, either from the parking structure or the buses, are going to be funneled into this situation and then sent across this pedestrian connector, which is going to cut through what is currently the Carousel Inn on Harbor Boulevard. So we're losing the Carousel Inn. I never stay there. I have no feelings about this, but apparently that's going away. And then you're going to go over a bridge, a pedestrian bridge, over Harbor Boulevard, and then into the parking, or not the parking area, but into the Esplanade. That walkway takes you all the way to the East Esplanade, which is the center of the two parks. Now you'll notice also, and I'm not sure, this is not addressed in either this rendering or in the Mouse Info article. Although they do mention something about the monorail. I don't see the monorail is going to have to go down for quite a while, I think, for this to happen, and for more than one reason, which again we'll get to in a minute. But the Mouse Info article referenced this dotted line. I don't know what that means for the monorail, but if they're going to build a bridge, then something's got to be done about the monorail. It's going to have to be rerouted. Right along, it actually runs right through that bridge. So I'm not sure. Well, we'll find out. Nothing's said yet. Now let's take a look at the same scene without the overlay and just look at some Google Earth photos of this area and maybe do a little speculation and observation. Here again, that's the Carousel Inn right there. That's what's going to be replaced. These two big buildings here and the Pumbaa parking lot beneath it are all going to be demoed, or maybe already have been demoed. I think those structures have already been taken down or are in the process of being taken down. And there's the dirt strip that I referenced earlier. That's going to be the entrance to the parking structure, which is going to, again, exist right on top of that Pumbaa parking lot. Now here's a shot from over the current bus drop-off area and the beginning of the entrance to the Esplanade. Right there in the middle of your frame is Harbor Boulevard right here. and then there's the carousel in over in the left third of the frame. That's where the walkway, the pedestrian walkway, is going to cross over Harbor Boulevard and then run alongside these administrative areas. Now, the reason why I want to look here more directly and speculate is because, by the sound of it, all foot traffic is going to be pushed into this new parking structure for this side of the park. And that means they're probably, well, I shouldn't say probably. It definitely means they don't need those bus loading areas anymore. That's my guess. Now, that's just a speculation, but it makes sense that this is all part of a grander plan, and one of those grander plans was something that we referenced a little while back about the expansion of DCA and Marvel, and that is it's going to co-opt this small little area. This bus loading area is going to be demoed and converted to Disney or a DCA area. And that's why you're putting all that foot traffic instead of coming through the hotels, all that hotel traffic, instead of just coming in from Harbor Boulevard like we see today, and they all enter through that bus loading area. They're going to have to go across the street and go across the footpath. Seems like a lot of extra work, a lot of extra foot traffic, but I feel like it's necessary if they do want to expand DCA. Now here's a longer view of the area over DCA and the bus loading zone, and you can see you get a little better picture, for example, of how these pieces can work together. I'm willing to bet that the Marvel construction is going to start occurring, or we'll begin seeing effects of this at around the same time that they are working on this footpath, because, or for that very reason, it'll reduce the length of time that the monorail will be shut down, because they're going to have to close the monorail while they're building Marvel Land back here, assuming that is what they're doing, by the way. It just seems logical that that's going to become Marvel Land. Therefore, we're going to either reroute the monorail track or just close it down for a long while, and therefore, you want to try and do as much of this at the same time. Okay. Lastly, I want to take an even larger view of the park. Now we're quite a ways up. Again, Harbor Boulevard parking structure right over here, and here is the bus loading zone right over here, far left third of your frame. I'm giving you this view because this is one of the other effects that we may see, depending on how successful this new parking structure is in absorbing parking traffic, because over to your right, 2 city blocks to the right, is the Toy Story parking lot. Now that's a big piece of land right there, and it's a terribly inefficient use of the land, even if it's inefficient even for a parking lot, because it's all flat. A parking structure, you could fit more cars in an upright parking structure than you can in all of that flat area there, the Toy Story parking lot. And it's not so far that it can't be, presented as part of, another gate perhaps. But that piece, it's not as big as either Disneyland or DCA, obviously, but it's a land. That's a land at least. Who knows what kind of land? But I guess we're already getting, Marvel's already set up for DCA. Star Wars Land's already committed for the backside of Disneyland. But I guess what I'm saying is that if this parking structure is efficient at absorbing all of that car traffic, they could have other plans for the Toy Story parking lot. And all it would take is a shuttle from what is now, the Pumbaa parking lot. Okay, I think that's it. I think I've covered everything that I can think of and all of the wild speculation that I could come up with. I want to hear from you guys, though, Fresh Baked. What do you think? What are the implications of this new parking structure for DCA, for Marvel Land, for bus traffic, and for this Toy Story parking lot? I'm really curious to find out what people think about that, because it seems like that's what they're angling for. Okay, Fresh Baked, we'll see you next time. And until then, Fresh Baked and stuff. We've got lots more videos for you to see, so grab a churro and check out our Star Wars Land updates from the Knothole Gang, or maybe our Secrets in History videos. Or you can just watch all of our weekly trip reports and have your mind blown by how much fun we're having. We truly are the best of Disney Bake Fresh Daily. And don't forget, you can support Fresh Baked by joining our Patreon campaign or by buying a Fresh Baked t-shirt. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Fresh Baked!